All right. Peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. And here we have yet another officer killed after needlessly shooting a black man in the stomach in the emergency room out of all places. This time it happened right up the street from me in Garner, North Carolina, where this police officer, Roger Smith, 59, was killed after shooting 29-year-old Benji Martin Jr. in the stomach. I am going to give you some information from other sources about what really happened. But first, let me play you a couple of news clips about the incident that mentions nothing about the officer shooting Benji, but are going with the narrative that this officer was a hero and he stopped many lives from being taken that day because there was a dangerous black man in the ER. But I'm going to give you some information that is furthest from that narrative and also shows that the officer may have been cowardly and the aggressor in the situation. And this video is fair use for literary and commentary purposes only. Just watch.
We continue to follow breaking news in Garner this hour as we learn more about that shooting that killed a Wake Med campus police officer. Investigators say Officer Roger Smith was shot in the lobby of the emergency room at Wake Med Garner Health Complex around 9 o'clock this morning. The 59-year-old officer was transported to Wake Med's Raleigh Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Garner police tell us they've also charged 29-year-old Benji Martin Jr. with murder. People who were at a nearby farmers market were stunned to learn what happened.
There can just be more precautions put on to protect people. It's a crazy world we live in today.
A law enforcement procession honoring Smith shut down Interstate 440 as officers escorted his body to the medical examiner's office. Now, new at 11, we're hearing from people who knew Officer Smith. As CBS 17's Haley Kennedy reports, those people say he was the kindest person they knew.
Wake Med officials say Officer Roger Smith's legacy stretches far beyond these walls. After nearly 30 years of service in law enforcement, they're calling his final moments heroic.
Active shooter at Wake Med and Garner.
To anyone on scene for a patient count, I need a patient count.
It's going to be a 50-year-old male GSW. It's going to be a Wake Med officer.
First responders rushing to the scene after Wake Med campus police officer Roger Smith was gunned down in the emergency room after a struggle with someone in the lobby.
I started kind of searching social media and news accounts and stuff, just trying to find a picture so I could confirm my worst suspicions.
Stephen Moore was high school best friends with Smith at Garner Senior, now called Garner Magnet High School, also working as a security officer, taking the time to speak with me on the phone about his friend.
Pretty much running the whole gamut of shock and disbelief.
29-year-old Benji Martin Jr. has been arrested and charged with murder.
A gut punch, like it always is. You know, you always hope and pray that the officer who's injured in the line of duty is going to pull through, and unfortunately that doesn't always happen.
CBS 17 is working to learn what led up to the struggle, while the nonprofit Back the Blue, organized to help law enforcement families, is working to gather support for Smith's family.
I found out that he was taking care of his elderly mother, and so now my concern is who is going to take care of her and who's going to help step up and support his family.
Smith worked for Wake Med campus police for 14 years, and before that, he served with the Knightdale Police Department for 16 years.
When I knew him was the epitome of law enforcement. He was compassionate, caring. Yeah, he wasn't out here to make a name for himself. He just wanted to do a job and keep the community safe.
The community honoring him Saturday with a procession down I-440, escorting his body to the examiner's office. Garner police stating that Officer Smith's actions likely prevented further loss of life.
There is no routine day in law enforcement. You never know exactly what you're going to walk into at work or what situations are going to be handed to you.
We will keep you updated as this investigation unfolds. In Garner, Haley Kennedy, CBS 17 News.
All right, and so if you notice that video, there's the typical rundown of events, the typical protocol. Now, before I tell you what really happened from a hospital worker and a friend who brought Benji Martin to the ER room, just let's look at what they're saying. They're saying that this officer was shot in the lobby after a brief struggle, and Benji Martin has been charged with murder. No information as to what happened, how this happened, none of that. They go straight into the public sentiment about the officer. Well, we talk to the people in the area, and they go into the law enforcement procession. They move this body, and they want to talk to people who knew Officer Smith, and they called him heroic. And then they play the 911 call of the active shooter, meaning, okay, well, they put you in the mind there's an active shooter, and the active shooter was around there shooting, and he shot Officer Smith for no reason at all. That is not true, right? But then they go and talk to his high school friend, and they have the blue founder up there, and then they said, well, he was taking care of his elderly mother, and we're wondering who are going to take them, and the sheriff said his actions prevented further loss of life, which could not be further from the truth. If this information that I'm going to give to you is correct, this officer was the one who started the incident. Now, let me tell you about it, and I'm going to pull up the article so you can read it with me. But so it is said that Benji Martin, he was 29-year-old. He and his girlfriend had just had 2 twins. Unfortunately, the girlfriend lost one of them during childbirth or before. Nevertheless, his friend said ever since that happened, his mental state took a turn for the worse. Understandable, right? And so they said, well, one day, because he was going through this, he went to the store, allegedly. Now, all of these are allegations. He went to the store and, bought some edible products. If anybody know what edible products is, you know what edible products is. So he brought up some edible products and ate them all at one time. And then a family member or a friend came and found him, almost unconscious, comatose, right? And so they took him to the emergency room. While he's at the emergency room, they say, well, he starts acting erratic. Of course, he has some substance in his body. He starts acting erratic. Then this police officer comes up and, they're talking or whatever. They said Benji was walking away, and then the officer grabbed him. And when the officer grabbed him, that's when they said everything went wrong. They said the officer grabbed him. Benji, I guess, reacted to him grab him. And they said the officer, when he grabbed him, already had his gun unholstered. And so when he grabbed Benji, he grabbed him, and I'm just speculating how it went. But evidently there was a struggle. I'm thinking Benji see him with the gun out, and traumatic experience, post-traumatic Negro black male syndrome in America, police with a gun, he's going to shoot you. So he probably reacted. Now, what they're saying is this officer shot him in the stomach first. Boom. Shot him in the stomach, allegedly. And then so they said the officer shot himself next in the leg. So he shoots Benji in the stomach, shoots himself in the leg, and then the article says that is when a shot was fired that killed the officer. That is when the shot that was fired was killed the officer. I don't know, and I can only speculate, was that shot from the officer again who shot himself? Or because the officer shot himself and had already shot Benji, then, Benji picked up the gun and, hey, this guy's trying to kill me. Let me do my due diligence. I don't know how the scenario ended, but Benji was taken to the hospital. He was flown, somewhere else, and then he took him back to Wake Med, where he had several surgeries and blood transfusions. And, they're saying when he gets released, he is going to be, taken to jail for the murder of this. But it is funny that they never mentioned in that article that you just heard Benji getting shot. Why is that? Because it doesn't fit their narrative of this police officer being an innocent bystanding victim of some deranged, crazy black man. Just let me pull up this article and so I can make sure I didn't miss anything about this situation. And you see this article, hospital worker and friend speak out about Wake Med police officer Roger Smith shooting. And that is the officer. New allegations, information has resurfaced regarding the tragic shooting that left Wake Med police officer Roger Smith dead. This source has spoken exclusively with a hospital worker who was present during the encounter, and she wished to remain anonymous, of course, and a family friend who accompanied the suspect, 29-year-old Benji Martin, Jr. of Garner, to the hospital. According to both witnesses, Martin's mental state had deteriorated just before the incident after his girlfriend, who was pregnant with twins, lost one of the babies. Friends say the loss caused Martin to experience a mental breakdown. According to accounts, Martin reportedly visited a local tobacco store and purchased edible products, which he consumed all at once. Shortly afterward, a friend identified only as Josh found Martin at his home unconscious and foaming at the mouth. Josh then rushed him to Wake Medical for attention and a mental health evaluation. Once checked in, Martin allegedly began screaming and acting erratically, but witnesses say he did not attack anyone. It was at this point that Officer Roger Smith allegedly confronted Martin, which led to Officer Roger Smith to grab Martin by the neck with his left hand and unholstered his firearm with his right. A physical struggle ensued, according to those present. Martin, still disoriented, pleaded with the officer not to shoot him. During the struggle, Smith fired a shot into Martin's stomach. The altercation continued, and sources allege that the officer shot again and accidentally shot himself in the leg. Another subsequent round reportedly struck Officer Smith in the chest, which bystanders say fatally wounded him. Witnesses claim that Martin was placed into custody immediately following the shooting and was being transported to the jail after passing out due to his injuries. Authorities then rushed him back to Wake Med for emergency surgery, where he reportedly underwent 6 to 7 blood transfusions and 6 hours of intensive care. A brief background check found that Benji Martin Jr. has no criminal record, and neighbors and friends describe him as a quiet, hardworking family man who keeps to himself and would never do something like this. A close friend identified as Stetson confirmed the same account and questioned the officer's decision to use lethal force. He wasn't attacking anyone. The officer grabbed him first. That's when everything went wrong. And so there you have the account of other witnesses who tell otherwise, that Benji was having a mental episode. He was not attacking anyone. This officer grabbed him by the neck with his gun out, and Benji is like, please don't shoot me, please don't shoot me. And he shoots him anyway. And then he shoots himself in the leg. Then either he shoots himself in the chest or Benji shoots himself in the chest. Nevertheless, if this is correct, what I see, he is not a hero. He is an instigator, and he started a situation where this man was already there for mental health evaluations. So that there should have been a psychiatrist come out. There should have been somebody to come out. But this police officer, as they always do, treat people having mental health situations like criminals who need to be shot. And in this case, he did so. And then, he met his immediate fate, in my opinion, for doing so. Now, as I stated, these are allegations. You've seen the article yourself. But notice once again how that news report never mentioned that the officer shot Benji first. You see the play here. Now, they did finally, and this is yesterday, this same station finally admitted that the suspect was also shot. Now, if they know he was also shot, they know a little more concerning what happened. But I'm going to play you this one because they're saying, well, we just don't know. We're still trying to figure out what happened. But, the suspect was also shot. Just take a listen to this, and this is fair use for literary and commentary purposes only.
Yeah, I spoke with some co-workers of Roger Smith here at Wake Med. They tell me that he was someone who always wanted to keep people safe and that he enjoyed what he did, and we lost a great person. when this happened. Now, we're still working to learn more details about what led up to this. But as far as we know, we do know that there was some kind of altercation that happened inside the Healthplex here in the lobby. And we know that is when Officer Roger Smith was shot. We also know that the suspect in this case, Benji Martin Jr., also shot during that altercation. He is now under medical supervision, but eventually he will be taken to the Wake County Detention Center facing murder charges. Now, again, still unclear what led up to that altercation, but the police chief calling this a heartbreaking and senseless act of violence. Now, we do know right now the SBI is now assisting with this investigation. We'll, of course, continue to follow up on this and let you know as soon as we know more. For now, we're live. Tom George, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
All right, so there you have them backhandedly admitting that this police officer shot him, and the police chief is calling it a senseless act of violence. Now, what's senseless about it? The officer shooting a mentally ill man in the stomach while he's there for care? Is that what you're talking about, senseless? Because I agree with that. But if that mentally ill man took that gun from that officer and put one in his chest, then I don't see how unsenseless that could be when you're defending your life. And so the whole narrative about this situation didn't sound right. I didn't jump on the story because I wanted more information to come out. And I did, get that information, and they were making it seem like an officer was gunned down. And what kind of safety measures that we can implement to detect weapons? Now, once again, you remember, they always say, well, this is the gun the suspect had, this, that. There is no mention of that. That officer apparently, allegedly, from what I'm understanding, was killed with his own weapon and may have even shot himself. But we're going to see more information as that come out. If you guys see this video, you see the number 919-587-7782. If you have any information about this situation, feel free to call. You can remain anonymous as well. But, just share this video because, once again, this is another example of how they try to paint the police in a heroic light when they were the initiators of a violent incident. And then in this case, were the recipients of violence as well. As the Bible says, as a man soweth, that shall he reap, or as an organization soweth, that shall they reap. Now, I'm not going to say that Officer Smith was a bad person, but of course, we've seen police officers as an organization heap violence among regular citizens on a regular basis. And of course, now citizens are beginning to heap violence upon them, whether justified or not. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this video in the comments. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. I thank y'all for liking, watching, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And as always, I pray you have peace and blessings. The scripture says all things that are hidden shall be revealed, and those things done in secret shall be exposed on the mountaintop.
Let's go, Rich. You watching Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. Give you the truth before fake news throw mud in it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it, you should tune in to Telehouse Publishing. Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. The propaganda grammar, don't believe none of it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it, you should tune in to Telehouse Publishing. Who keep the people informed? Stories abroad from literary work where the narrative's wrong. The research is always on point, the commentary is hard. It's Rich Teller raising the bar. Follow along, shout out to FBA, still FTP, pick up NFAC, and all my black families. It's three sides to all stories, which one you gon' believe? We run down on the false prophets when they come to deceive. 100% urban world news, current events. We don't like them lies. Media is biased, we got God beside us, ladies and gents is power. If you don't know by now, look around me, the darkest hours. Cops squeezing hammers cause they don't understand us. We stop and freeze with our hands and kill us off like cancer. Don't speculate before the facts on the case. Telehouse set them straight, my brother Rich investigate. You watching Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. Give you the truth before fake news throw mud in it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it, you should tune in to Telehouse Publishing. Telehouse Publishing, breaking news coverage. The propaganda grammar, don't believe none of it. Before the jury decide and the judge discover it, you should tune in to Telehouse Publishing.
Negroes have listened to the trickery and the lies and the false promises of the white man now for too long.